They laughed, they mocked, they doubted your worth and even whispered your defeat before you had a chance to rise. But oh, chosen one, look at you now. The same people who said you wouldn't make it are watching in stunned silence as your life becomes living proof that grace, grit, and God don't play fair by the world's rules. Your journey wasn't paved with applause or easy shortcuts. It was forged in solitude, storms, and silent prayers. While others were busy ridiculing your process, you were submitting to the furnace that refines gold. You didn't clap back. You didn't fight for attention. You trusted the process. You trusted the promise. And now, the entire city feels your presence. They repost your words. They mimic your energy. They double-tap your growth, secretly wishing they had your kind of resilience. This isn't coincidence. It's divine orchestration. Psalm 23:5 says, God prepares a table before you in the presence of your enemies. That means your breakthrough was never meant to be private. It was meant to be a front-row lesson for those who discounted you. Even neuroscience backs this up. People remember pain far more vividly than pleasure. That's why your rise feels unforgettable to them. They're your downfall, and now they can't ignore your comeback. The irony, the very voices that tried to bury you are now trying to align with you. But you're not bitter, you're just better. Because chosen ones don't flex through revenge. They rise through revelation. This is your spiritual graduation, the moment when heaven validates what earth denied. And now your silence is louder than their noise ever was. So yes, they look confused, even foolish, because the underdog didn't just survive, the underdog. And you're just getting started. Stay with me, because what comes next will make sure you shrink again. Point 1, you stayed silent when they were loud. Silence. It's not just the absence of noise, it's a divine weapon. Chosen one while the world was busy chattering behind your back, throwing shade, twisting truths, and tagging your name in drama you never subscribed to. You were focused. You weren't in the group chats clapping back. You weren't crafting Instagram captions, throwing subliminals. You didn't sit around defending yourself to people who already made up their minds about you. You knew better. You are better. See, the world teaches us to be loud, to be heard, but God teaches us something deeper, that true strength is revealed in stillness. While they were running their mouths, you were running your race. You didn't just stay quiet, you stayed consistent. And that consistency, that dedication behind the scenes, that was your real comeback. Now let's break it down. Scientifically and psychologically, silence is one of the most underestimated power moves. Studies in behavioral psychology show that when a person remains calm and quiet in the face of confrontation or gossip, it often destabilizes the aggressor. Why? Because people expect a reaction. They feed off of it, and when they don't get it, it disrupts the dynamic. Silence removes the power from the instigator and recenters it in you. That's not passivity, it's control. It's spiritual maturity, and chosen one, that's what you had. The discernment to know when to speak and when to stay silent. Proverbs 17:28 says, even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. So you didn't just hold your tongue, you handed it over to God. You didn't defend your name, you let God defend it. And trust He did. Because when you hold your peace, God holds your reputation. And now the silence they once mocked is the loudest thing in the room. Now they're replaying the moments, wondering, did she know? Did he see what we were doing? How did they stay so calm? Oh, you knew. You just weren't about to lower your vibration to match their drama. Because you understand, the louder the chaos around you, the more powerful your silence becomes. And your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Here's something even deeper. God doesn't just let your silence protect you, He uses it to teach them. Your enemies didn't get away with what they did, they got schooled. While they were busy trying to trap you with words and slander, they didn't realize they were setting up their own downfall. God let them underestimate you so they could learn who you really are without you having to say a single word. Now they're sitting in their regret, haunted by how wrong they were, humbled by the glow-up they never saw coming. And here's the wild part. Some of the very people who once disrespected you are now silently watching, admiring, and even wishing they had treated you better. But don't get bitter, chosen one, get better. Don't let their regret become your distraction. You've got places to go, blessings to receive, and levels to climb. Let your growth be your greatest response. Let your peace preach the sermon you never had to speak out loud. There's a reason monks, mystics, and wise sages retreat into silence. Silence isn't emptiness, it's where God speaks the loudest. It's in the quiet that he molds you, refines you, and prepares you. And now, your presence, your peace, your power, it's undeniable. The silence they thought was your weakness became your superpower. And now, you don't even have to say a word. Your life is doing all the talking. So keep walking in that silent strength, chosen one. Keep letting your silence shake the room. Because when you're backed by God, you don't have to prove a thing. You're already approved. And that speaks louder than words ever could. Point 2. You kept moving in the mud. Most would have thrown in the towel. They would have given up after the third rejection, maybe the fourth. But you kept pushing. With rejection letters in one hand and a quiet, trembling prayer in the other, you walked through doors that slammed shut and climbed mountains that seemed to grow taller with every step. You didn't wait for applause. There was no cheering crowd, no medals, and no good job texts lighting up your phone. What kept you going wasn't outside validation. It was something far deeper, far richer, something heaven planted. Let's be real, rejection stings. Science even backs it up. Neuroscientific research has shown that the brain processes social rejection in the same region that processes physical pain. That's right, a no can actually hurt. But somehow, while others saw the rejection as a stop sign, you treated it like a red light, temporary. You sat with it, you prayed through it, and then you hit the gas again. The difference between stopping and pushing through often comes down to purpose. Purpose doesn't always show up as a clear voice or a lightning bolt revelation. Sometimes it's just a quiet conviction that you're not done yet, that what you're building, what you're becoming is worth the weight, the pressure, and the silence. That's spiritual seasoning. That's where your character cooks. Think of diamonds, they form under extreme pressure. Olive oil, it comes from crushing. Gold, refined by fire. These aren't poetic metaphors, they're literal processes, and you too were under pressure, crushed, refined. But instead of breaking, you hardened in resilience and softened in wisdom. Heaven didn't just watch. Heaven authorized the heat so that your faith would be fireproof and your spirit indestructible. You see, while they thought you were stuck, God was preparing something. They whispered, "Where are they now?" thinking you were fading. Meanwhile, your roots were growing deeper, your discernment sharper. You were learning how to navigate by spirit, not sight. That's next-level growth, the kind that can't be faked or bought, the kind that's earned only through the stillness, the silence, and the setbacks. And when did your breakthrough finally came? The reward wasn't just the job offer, the opportunity, or the win. It was that unstoppable, unshakable spirit that was forged in private. The real gift was the version of you that emerged on the other side, humble, hungry, and holy. Not bitter, better. This is the spiritual paradox. Sometimes God lets the enemy laugh first. He lets people assume you're finished, lets the haters circle like vultures, but only because he knows the power of the comeback. Not the flashy kind, but the divine kind, the kind that silences every doubter without you having to say a word, the kind that makes people scratch their heads and say, "Wait, weren't they done?" No, you weren't done. You were just getting ready. So now, when you walk into rooms that once ignored you, you carry a different presence. You don't need to prove yourself because your energy speaks louder than your words. That's the power of being spiritually seasoned. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were always right to believe. Keep going, keep growing. You've already endured the fire, now it's time to shine. Point 3, you let God handle the karma. Revenge, that ain't your lane, grace is. Let's be real. When someone crosses you, disrespects you, or throws shade for no reason, the temptation to clap back is real. The human instinct screams for revenge. We're wired for self-preservation, for justice, for balance. Psychologically speaking, revenge gives people a fleeting sense of control or closure. But here's the catch. It's fleeting. Studies in neuroscience, particularly from Emory University, show that when people indulge in revenge, the brain activates its reward center, but only momentarily. The afterglow quickly fades, often leaving behind a mess of regret, bitterness, and wasted energy. But you took the higher road. When folks underestimated you, lied on you, betrayed your kindness, or plotted behind your back, you didn't take the bait. You chose grace, not because you were weak, but because you were wise. because you knew something deeper than a petty comeback. When God writes the plot twist, the ending always favors the righteous. And let's be clear, that decision wasn't easy. You probably cried in silence, doubted your own strength, and questioned why you kept getting hurt by people you only tried to love. But you didn't lash out. You didn't stoop to their level. Instead, you whispered prayers, held your peace, and moved in silence. And now look. The same mouths that gossiped about you, silent, the same folks that laughed when you were down, watching from the sidelines as you rise. And it's not just embarrassment they feel, it's humility, because nothing confuses the enemy like your elevation. Nothing silences a doubter faster than undeniable growth that you didn't force. It just happened, organically, divinely, because when God fights your battles, he wins them in such a way that no one can deny his hand was on you all along. Let's talk spiritually for a moment. Romans 12:19 reminds us, "Do not take revenge, my dear friends, but leave room for God's wrath, for it is written, 'It is mine to avenge, I will repay,' says the Lord." That's not just a comforting thought, it's a spiritual strategy. See, when you let go of the urge to retaliate, you create space for God to act. And unlike us, God doesn't miss. He doesn't strike from emotion. He moves with purpose. His form of justice, flawless. Even in psychology, grace is powerful. Emotional intelligence, the ability to manage your emotions and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, is consistently linked with success, respect, and stronger relationships. When you choose not to respond with vengeance, you show maturity that others notice, even your enemies, and over time, the narrative changes. You're no longer the target. They become their own downfall. You didn't have to expose them. You didn't have to get loud. You just had to stay grounded. The truth has a funny way of revealing itself. When you're patient, the very people who tried to discredit you are now sitting with their own shame, not because you hurt them back, but because you didn't. And now they see it. You knew the whole time. You saw through the lies, the manipulation, and the fake smiles. You weren't blind, you were gracious. Now you're rising, not in spite of them, but partly because of them, because they gave you the fire, the fuel, and the faith to lean harder into your purpose. And while they wrestle with regret, you're out here glowing, growing, and going places they never imagined for you. So remember this, revenge might feel good for a second, but grace makes history. Grace turns tables. Grace humbles enemies. And grace, that's your lane, always was. Always. Point 4, your character screamed louder than their lies. They lied. You lived. The truth aged like fine wine. They whispered lies in rooms you weren't even in. They twisted your story to fit their insecurities, exaggerated your flaws to distract from your light, and hoped their noise would drown out your worth. But you didn't crumble. You didn't retaliate. You didn't even flinch. You simply lived. You woke up each day and chose growth over gossip and grace over grudges. And slowly, without fanfare or fireworks, people started noticing. It wasn't dramatic, it was quiet, like the sun rising on a dark skyline, unnoticed at first until everything began to glow. Your glow, earned, not borrowed, became impossible to ignore. The same mouths that spread rumors now sit silent, chewing on regret. Because while they were busy fabricating stories, you were busy building your life. A strong, beautiful, unshakable life. Psychologically, this is a phenomenon known as the truth bias. It's the idea that over time, people begin to see patterns, and patterns reveal character. No matter how convincing a lie is, the truth has a rhythm. It shows up in your actions, your consistency, and your calmness in the storm. And humans are wired to eventually recognize authenticity. According to a 2021 study in the Journal of Social Psychology, people are far more likely to shift their beliefs when long-term behavior contradicts an initial negative perception. In simple terms, lies may run fast, but truth runs marathons. What made your light so bright wasn't just your resilience, it was your refusal to play dirty. You didn't meet lies with louder lies. You didn't post cryptic call-outs or burn bridges just to feel the warmth. Instead, you stayed rooted, grounded, present. That's not weakness, that's power. The kind of power that can't be faked or finessed. And let's talk about humility, because that's your secret sauce. While they tried to stain your name, you polished your purpose. You let your work, your walk, and your wins speak. You showed up not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. That's rare. That's Sigma energy. That's spiritually mature. and people respect it, even if they don't admit it. In time, your glow became undeniable, your peace became magnetic, your energy inexplicable. People began to whisper again, but this time in awe. She never said a word, she just kept going. And that right there is the lesson. You don't have to clear your name when your life is the loudest testimony. In literature and storytelling, this is the classic hero's journey. The protagonist is misunderstood, cast out and doubted, but through trials, truth and time, they emerge stronger, wiser, and more whole. And just like in those stories, your truth aged like fine wine. It didn't need to be forced, it just needed time to breathe. So yes, they lied, but you lived, you grew, you transformed, and in doing so, you exposed every lie without lifting a single accusatory finger. That's the kind of strength no scandal can erase. Now let them sit with their shame. Let them watch you rise from the ashes of their assumptions. Let them replay their betrayal while you write your legacy. And do it with no bitterness in your heart. Because healing is the best revenge. Peace is the loudest clapback. And success, well, that speaks louder than any lie ever told. So lift your head, beautiful soul. You're living proof that the truth doesn't just survive, it shines. Let them taste their regret while you toast to your resilience. You didn't need to clear your name, your life did that for you. And like the finest vintage, your truth is only getting better with time. Point 5, you elevated without announcing. No billboards, no bragging, just blessings. The quiet power of kingdom behavior. In a world obsessed with likes, follows, and flashy announcements, there's something incredibly rare and powerful about moving in silence. You've seen it, or maybe you've been it. That person who isn't posting every play they make, who isn't screaming their wins from the rooftops. They're too focused on the work, too focused on purpose, too aligned with their assignment to worry about public approval. And then one day, boom, they're unrecognizable. Not because they changed overnight, but because they transformed consistently, quietly, faithfully. That, chosen one, is the divine art of elevation without explanation. You see, there's a psychological edge to moving in silence. According to behavioral studies, people who discuss their goals publicly are often less likely to achieve them. Why? Because the dopamine released when sharing prematurely can trick the brain into thinking the work is already done. Quiet movers, on the other hand, preserve that energy. They internalize it, they grind, they grow. They let the results do all the talking, and when those results arrive, even the loudest doubters are left speechless. No billboards were needed, no public speeches or long threads explaining how you made it, just blessings. One by one, drip by drip. It wasn't glamorous, and at times it was even gritty, but it was real. Every step up was earned, not gifted. Every door that opened was knocked on with humility, not entitlement. And when the elevation happened, when the promotions came, the peace overflowed and the influence multiplied, it left a trail of stunned silence. Because by the time the world finally noticed, it was too late to deny the move of God on your life. Even your enemies had to take a seat. Now let's talk about those folks, the ones who doubted you, mocked you, underestimated you with a smirk, the ones who watched you from the sidelines hoping you'd slip, fall, or fade out. They didn't understand that you weren't working for validation. You were working for destiny. And when destiny starts flexing, even jealousy gets quiet. The very people who rolled their eyes at your dreams suddenly have no choice but to acknowledge your reality, not because you proved them wrong with vengeance, but because your glow is too loud to ignore. But here's the kicker. You didn't get bitter. You got better. That's kingdom behavior. You see, God has a way of preparing a table in the presence of your enemies, not to shame them, but to teach them. When people see you rise without retaliating, when they see you win without boasting, it forces them to examine their own hearts. It's a mirror, and that mirror reflects something they weren't ready for. Their own smallness, their own insecurities, their own missed opportunities to grow instead of hate. While you were getting aligned, they were getting distracted. While you were healing, they were gossiping. And now they have to sit with the discomfort of regret while you ascend with grace. This kind of glow-up can't be manufactured. It's spiritual, it's rooted in humility, integrity, and obedience, and that's why it's so unshakable. When your success comes from a place of divine alignment rather than personal ambition, it's protected, it's untouchable, because it wasn't built on noise, it was built on knowing. So chosen one, keep doing you. Keep moving in silence. Keep letting your blessings announce themselves. The kingdom way isn't always flashy, but it's always faithful. And in the end, the ones who try to overlook you will be the same ones applauding you, because there's no denying favor when it finally speaks. And when it speaks, let it roar. Point 6, you change the energy of the room. There's something about the entrance of a chosen one that can't be ignored. It's not loud, but it echoes. It's not showy, but it turns heads. You walk into a room and the energy bends, shifts, and tightens. People may not know what exactly just happened, but they felt something. It wasn't just your outfit or your posture. No, it's deeper than aesthetics. It's your aura, your alignment, your authority. It's the glow of someone who's been through fire and came out anointed, not angry. You're not just walking in, you're walking in healed, whole, and God-backed. And whether people admit it or not, they feel it in their spirit. Psychologically speaking, human beings are wired to perceive subtle cues, posture, eye contact, tone, and rhythm of movement. This is called thin slicing, a term coined by psychologists Nalini Ambady and Robert Rosenthal. It refers to our ability to make accurate judgments about people within seconds, based on minimal information. When a chosen one walks in, people's subconscious minds take note instantly. They might not be able to articulate why they feel drawn in or unsettled, but something about your presence activates internal shifts. The unhealed, they feel threatened. They might tighten up, avoid eye contact, or even project negativity toward you without reason. Why? Because healed people become mirrors. You unknowingly reflect back to others what they haven't yet dealt with. Your peace reminds them of their inner chaos. Your authenticity highlights their masks. Your stillness exposes their restlessness. And that stings. But that's not your burden to carry. That's the cost of alignment. You weren't put on this earth to shrink so others feel comfortable in their dysfunction. You were made to rise, and by doing so, give others permission to do the same. What's wild is how your mere presence has power. You weren't trying to win anyone over. You didn't beg for approval, seek validation, or put on a performance. You didn't need to. The anointing speaks for itself. When someone walks in connected to something divine, they don't need to prove anything. It's a spiritual signal that resonates on a level beyond words. The right ones recognize it. The lost ones resist it. And the wise ones are inspired by it. Even neuroscientific studies support this phenomenon. According to research on emotional contagion, we unconsciously pick up on the emotional states of others, especially those who radiate strong, stable energies. A chosen one's emotional and spiritual stability can literally change the atmosphere in a room. Ever wonder why people glance at you multiple times when you've said nothing? Or why strangers feel the need to explain themselves to you unprovoked? Your energy commands awareness. Your alignment demands honesty, even in silence. And here's the most divine part. You didn't ask for the spotlight. You just are the light. You're not trying to intimidate. You're not here to compete. You're walking in your calling, fully aware of the cost and still choosing to rise. While others perform, you become. While they mock, you move. While they plot, you pray. And while they fumble in confusion, you're guided by clarity and purpose. To those watching from afar, maybe silently, maybe secretly, they see the blueprint. You've shown what transformation looks like without preaching it. You're proof that pain doesn't have the final word, that healing is possible, that God really does turn ashes into beauty. So let the atmosphere shift. Let the uneasy ones whisper and the inspired ones take notes. You didn't come to impress. You came to impact. You weren't trying to win them, but your presence already did. Point 7, you made peace your power. Peace. Not the kind that's quiet because nothing's happening, but the kind that hums inside you like a tuned engine, steady, strong, and unshakable. It's time we drop the myth that peace means passivity or weakness. In reality, peace is one of the most powerful forces you can carry. It's not what you fall into, it's what you build. And if you've been the one choosing peace over performance, calm over chaos, and inner growth over outer noise, you're walking in a power most people don't even recognize until it's standing right in front of them. Let's be real. While others were scrambling to chase clout, to prove their worth with popularity, perfection, or performance, you were doing the real work. You weren't focused on being seen. You were focused on seeing yourself. You chose healing. You chose boundaries. You chose silence when it would have been easier to snap back. And that's next level power, because anyone can make noise, but only the truly elevated can hold peace in the middle of madness. Did you know that neuroscientific studies show mindfulness and emotional regulation actually rewire the brain? The amygdala, the part of your brain responsible for fear and anxiety, literally shrinks with consistent peace-based practices like meditation, gratitude, and stillness. This means the more you choose peace, the more biologically resilient you become. You're not just being calm for show, you're transforming from the inside out. Now fast forward to today. That peace you carry, it's magnetic. It's the quiet confidence that makes people lean in a little closer when you speak. It's the reason people come to you not just with questions, but with their hearts. You've become the anchor in a world of drifting minds, the one who doesn't need to shout to be heard, because your energy speaks volumes, and people feel that. In a world full of hype and hustle, your calm is rare, it's gold. And those who once overlooked you are now circling back, hoping to catch a glimpse of what you've got. Not because you changed to please them, but because you stayed true to yourself. You grew, you glowed, and now you've become the safe space others crave but don't know how to create for themselves. Here's the kicker. Your peace is contagious. Ever notice how just being yourself calms the room? That's not accidental. That's the divine echo of all the work you've done. That's the reward of walking through storms and choosing not to become one. And those who used to compete with you, they're watching now, curious, confused. Some might even feel convicted, not because you condemned them, but because your peace exposed their noise. But don't gloat, don't get petty, stay powerful, stay peaceful. Because your elevation isn't just about you, it's about what God's doing through you. You're showing others that real strength isn't about domination, it's about mastery. And when you master peace, you stop reacting and start radiating. So keep glowing, keep growing. You're not just carrying peace, you've become it, and that more than anything else is what makes you unstoppable. Chosen one, what they meant for evil, God flipped for glory. This ain't just a get back, this is divine reversal. You've become the blueprint, the standard, the one they can't ignore. They once called you a joke, now they're quoting you like scripture. Let this be your reminder. Stay low, stay godly, stay real. The city may be cheering now, but your focus, stay heavenly. This is just chapter 1 of the comeback they never saw coming. Keep shining, keep praying, keep shocking them with silence. Because now they eat in every word. And you're walking proof that God doesn't play about his chosen ones. To all the chosen ones watching, drop a "they looking stupid, but I'm staying spiritual" in the comments if you felt this video. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with another chosen one who's still rising.